Sure, he's arrogant, unlikable, and has some high-profile failures, but is LeBron James overrated? Welcome in to part 3 of our protracted examination into the career lowlights of the self-proclaimed king. And this part begins where his first stint in Cleveland ends. After 7 seasons with the Cavaliers and 7 years of inability to get it done at the highest level, LeBron tucked his tail between his legs and crawled on his hands and knees to Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat team. Despite winning the NBA's regular season MVP award in his last 2 years in his first stint with Cleveland and capturing the NBA's overall #1 seed in the playoffs, LeBron couldn't even get out of the Eastern Conference in 2009 and 2010, setting the stage for the most cowardly move in NBA history.
In this fall, man, this is very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Many LeBron apologists would be quick to point out that the Celtics had amassed a super team in Boston and LeBron was merely fighting fire with fire. A preposterous claim when you evaluate where the Celtics' big three were at the time of joining forces versus the unholy alliance in Miami that broke the competitive balance of the NBA, ushered in the era of the super team, and ruined the sport. When Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen joined forces in the 2007-2008 season, all of them were in their 30s and played over a decade in the league. In the season prior, not one of these players made All-NBA first or second team, and only Kevin Garnett was named to All-NBA third team. Not one of these players finished in the top 5 in MVP voting that season. Compare this to the Banana Boat Trio that joined forces in Miami in 2010-2011. All 3 players were in their mid to late 20s, and all 3 entering their 8th seasons. While the Boston Big Three were on the back end of their primes, those Miami 3 were squarely in the middle of theirs, as evidenced by the previous season of their team-up when LeBron James and Dwayne Wade not only both made first-team All-NBA, but finished 1st and 5th in MVP voting that year. The season prior to that, they finished 1st and 3rd in MVP voting, while both also making the first-team All-NBA that season. By any measurement at that time, Kobe Bryant and LeBron James were the best 2 players in the league, and Dwayne Wade was 3rd, being just 3 years removed from winning an NBA title and Finals MVP. The 2 of them then added Chris Bosh, who at that point of his career had played 7 years in Toronto, had a career average of 20.2 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 2.2 assists, while making 5 consecutive All-Star teams, every year except his first 2 in the league. Make no mistakes, LeBron fanboys, this team was absolutely stacked. And the reason why the ringless king at the time felt confident enough to make this bold proclamation.
But we also know you 3 kings came down here to win championships. Not 1, championships.
Not 2.
LeBron, tell us about that.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Despite being the odds-on favorite all 4 years in Miami, LeBron managed to only go 500 in the finals. And his first finals appearance there would set the stage for the greatest choke job by an all-time great in NBA history. Everything was going according to plan for the Heat through the first 3 rounds of the 2010-2011 playoffs, as the Heat won every series in the Eastern Conference by a 4-1 margin. They steamrolled into the finals, where they would take a 1-0 series lead over a Dallas Mavericks team, a Mavericks team that had only 1 All-Star on its roster. And despite LeBron's teammates Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh showing up and showing out in this series, they ultimately couldn't overcome the deficiencies of the 26-year-old, then two-time league MVP LeBron James. And despite the mythos built up around this series and Dirk Nowitzki's performance, it's not a stretch to say Dwayne Wade was the best player in the series, and you had Chris Bosh going for nearly 19-7. Again, folks, this is not the young, inexperienced LeBron that people try giving a pass to for his first finals appearance in 2007 against the Spurs. This is 26-year-old LeBron in his 8th season, who was coming off of back-to-back league MVPs in 2009 and 2010. Despite being the 3rd leading scorer on his own team and 5th leading scorer in this series, the numbers get much worse when you evaluate his play in the 4th quarter. LeBron scored a total of 18 points in the 4th quarter in 6 games in this series, which is an average of 3 points per game in the final period. But it gets even worse than that. If we sharpen the focus to just crunch time, meaning less than 5 minutes with the score within 5 points, James's numbers fell off of a cliff. In this NBA Finals series, with 2 teammates playing extremely well against a team with only 1 All-Star, the guy that has an entire delusional fan base calling him the GOAT scored not 1 point in clutch time. You heard that right. 0 points. 0. None. Nothing. No points in clutch time of an entire series that his team lost 4-2 in the finals with a superior team. And it's not just his delusional fan base that thinks that he's the GOAT.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For so many reasons.
I was super, super ecstatic to win one for Cleveland because of the 52-year drought. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, obviously, I showed that the first wave of emotion was when everyone saw me crying. Like, that was all for 52 years of everything in sports going on in Cleveland. And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
Well, this brings us to roughly a decade into his career. But make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned for more on LeBron James and the mass media who love him. Until next time, Godspeed, truth seekers.